way you form your root chord in old time versus bluegrass guitar playing, and we're talking about support guitar playing now, we're not talking about lead guitar playing or melodic guitar playing in the high end of the guitar. We're talking about playing in a band and there's a fiddle or a banjo or a mandolin or a voice that is carrying the melody. So in an old time band, if you're playing, you're coming out of a tradition that has a lot of time when there was not an upright bass. So the guitar players do the role of the bass in the low end of the guitar. So even when they're playing with an upright bass player in more modern old-time bands, they still have more bass runs usually than a bluegrass guitar player would. So an example of an old-time form for your root chord, if you're playing out of the form of G, that would be like a G form chord, right? And I've got my capo on the 4th fret here. We're actually up in A. This guitar is tuned down a whole step. So don't worry about that. Trust your ear, not your eyes, if you're playing along. So old time root chord form, we take your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the 6th string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret on the 5th string, and use your pinky on the 3rd fret on the 1st string. And there's your root chord. That's your old-time root chord. The difference between that and your bluegrass root chord is that you're going to take your 2nd finger, put it on the 3rd fret, on the 6th string, and you're going to muffle the 5th string with that finger so it's not going to ring out. And then you're going to use your 3rd finger and you're going to place it on the 2nd string on the 3rd fret, and you're going to use your pinky on the 1st string on the 3rd fret. And that's going to be your bluegrass root chord. What's happening there is that you're removing the 3rd in the scale from the chord. So in the old time chord, you have what would be the B note if we were playing in G, or the 3rd, right here. It's your C sharp in A. We're getting rid of that in bluegrass. You also have it here in that chord. In bluegrass, you get rid of that because the melodic players are not only playing the melody, they're going to do a lot of improvisational blues-influenced movements on their instruments. And if you're framing that 3rd note in the scale as a major, what if they flat it? What if they want to do something else? It's going to be a kind of a dissonance there that just isn't as in keeping with the sound of the genre, right? So if you're a bluegrass guitar player, you're sounding like this. If you're an old-time guitar player, you're sounding like this. They're both great. As far as how you move with the chord, in the old time, you're going to do more bass runs. And so these fingers are going to move around a little bit, and you're going to kind of keep things pinned down here. In the bluegrass, with this chord, you're going to do more of this kind of thing. Eventually with that kind of strum is that the ringing out of all the strings in the chord dominate over the bass note. And when you have a bass player, you'll see really great bluegrass guitar players, they hardly touch the bass notes on the guitar because they trust the bass player. And so they're filling in between the bass notes. And you'll hear them, if they're used to playing with the bass player and they're playing without one, they might not do those bass notes and just use that strum. More like this. Whereas an old-time guitar player as always, the pulse of the band is more important than anything else. So if you're studying up on these styles and you're joining jams, always do the simplest thing you can to maintain synchronicity with the other band members. So don't try your old time runs out if you're not sure you can do it in time. It's the same with the bluegrass, but instead of the bass runs, it's usually the soloing that gets in the way of the pulse of the band, because people mistakenly prioritize their solo over taking part in the rhythmic unity of the band while someone else is playing, and that's when things start to fall apart in bluegrass. The way things start to fall apart in old time is often that people aren't willing to see the potential in the simplicity of the form and understand the role of the guitar and the way that you're actually a bass player and a guitar player often. Even if you're playing with a bass player who's doing a great job in an old-time band, an upright bass player, you can still do those bass runs, but you sort of have to do them double time. You have to fit them in between the bass player. You have to listen to the bass player and understand their timing, and it's totally fine to match them on some of those notes. If they're hitting that root, you can hit that root, or you can do your strum.